Hi Yellow 6 students, this is Mrs. Shomura-Takata. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about writing the beginning of your narrative, and I'm going to show you how to do that and what are some things you can look at in your digital resource slideshow to help you with that. And then I'm going to introduce your formative/summative for Springboard Unit 1 embedded assessment as well. Okay, so first off, I'm going to be starting off in your writing resource slideshow, and I'm starting on slide 26, and I will actually present this. Okay, so when you are writing a narrative, it's kind of important that you have a beginning. Okay, remember that a narrative is different than an informational writing. There is kind of like a story embedded in it. So when you have a narrative, you're going to need a beginning. So narratives must begin in a way that grab the reader's attention and interest him or her enough to continue reading. Authors use the following strategies to hook their readers. So these are 4 ways that authors try to hook their reader into continuing reading, being interested enough in the hook to keep going. One way of starting your narrative is starting it with an anecdote, which is a short sketch or account of a biographical incident. Okay. Another way to write, a different way of writing a beginning, would be a question, and it would be a question that the narrator, the writer, poses. It's a question that focuses the reader's attention on the subject of the writing. A third way of starting a narrative, another different way, would be a statement of intrigue. And this is a statement designed to capture the reader's interest and compel him or her to read more. And the last would be a quote, a line of dialogue or famous quotation that points to the idea of the narrative. Okay, so these are 4 ways you can start. You can use 1 each, and as you will see in the next slide, you could actually technically do like a combination. Okay, whatever actually works for your writing. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next slide. So let me move myself here. In language arts, you have experienced some different narratives from the Springboard book. One is My Superpowers, another is Flipped, a third is The Jacket, and this kayak tip over is actually something I'm going to go to after. But for My Superpowers, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of that writing. Do you ever wish you had superpowers? So, which beginning hook strategy does the author use from the previous slide? Well, one thing I noticed as I'm looking here is this is a question, but it doesn't have a question mark. So just because it doesn't have a question mark doesn't mean it's not a question. So the beginning hook strategy is a question. Okay? So let me go back. Okay, question. A question that focuses the reader's attention on the subject of the writing. In the example from Flipped is, all I ever wanted is for Julie Baker to leave me alone, for her to back off, you know, just give me some space. So what beginning hook strategy does the author use? Well, this one is, this one is actually a combination. This is an anecdote. It's a short biographical account or thoughts of the writer, but it is, because there were quotation marks around it, it is also a quote. So this one would be a combination of an anecdote and quote. Now if there were no quotations, then it would just simply be like an anecdote. Okay. Next, from The Jacket, my clothes have failed me. I remember the green coat that I wore in 5th and 6th grades when you either danced like a champ or pressed yourself up against a greasy wall, bitter as a penny toward the happy couples. This is similar to Flipped in that if we had to name the beginning hook strategy, it would be an anecdote and a quote. Okay? So again, a short sketch or account of something that happened, and then because there were quotation marks, it could be considered a quote as well. Kayak tip over is a little bit different. Cold waves lap at my back. The wind roars. The capsized kayak bobs crazily like a runner's short ponytail. My arms and legs tingle with the thought of an underwater creature dragging me down into the watery depths. This example of the beginning would be a statement of intrigue. I mean, you listen to the words that are written there. That's trying to capture the reader's interest. So, the wind roars. Capsized kayak, that means a flipped over kayak. Bobs crazily. My arms and legs tingle. Okay, the thought of an underwater creature dragging me down. Those are pretty strong sensory words that can create this sense of intrigue, like, oh, what's going on here? Okay, so when you are writing your narrative for your formative and your summative, you need to include a beginning to your narrative writing. Okay, so now what I'm going to be sharing with you are the next slides here. Move myself over here now. This is that kayak tip over, and this is, as you can see up here, a personal narrative sample. Okay, so I'm going to read it to you. Cold waves lap at my back. The wind roars. The capsized kayak bobs crazily like a runner's short ponytail. My arms and legs tingle with the thought of an underwater creature dragging me down into the watery depths. This is just like TV, I think, as I anticipate a shark jumping out from the water and eating us. I shiver involuntarily, and if you'll notice, there is a quote here. Help! I cry, small-voiced. Another quote. Earlier, that day had started out like any old vacation. The weather was warm, and there was a pleasant breeze licking at the waves in the lagoon. My mom's book club invited my brother, sister, mom, and me, along with 2 other families, to a beach house. The house was on a tranquil lagoon with rippling water. No one else was in the water that day. The house had kayaks, bodyboards, and a paddle boat. Perfect for us kids. All was going well until the 2 boys got bored. The boys were evidently going crazy if they didn't do something soon. They had been lying in the sun for too long, and they were swiftly accumulating girly tans. Suddenly, Josh had a marvelous idea. Why didn't they let one floaty go drifting downstream and then go chasing it in the paddle boat? The idea was perfect. There was only one catch. The pleasant breeze that had been blowing gently was now a gushing whirlwind of energy, and the floaty was rapidly growing smaller and smaller, with the boys close in tow. Tino! Joshua! Madison, Anna, and I screamed and yelled, but it was to no avail. Joshua Birch, come back here! Madison hollered. Our mothers came up behind us. Looks like they're going to need a rescue team, Madison's mom said. We looked at her for a second and then jumped into action. Anna manned the 1-person kayak while Madison and I took the 2-seater. We pushed off, soldiers on a mission. So again, you'll notice there are quotes here. Okay. Anna reached Tino and Josh before Madison and I did. The situation was worse than we had thought. Tino and Josh were flailing about in the water. In trying to reach the floaty, they had fallen out of the paddle boat. Anna had tied the kayak and paddle boat together, hoping to give it a tow because the current was too strong to paddle the boat back. The boys were still in the water, unable to get in the boat. Anna, realizing her plan wasn't working, untied the kayak. Finally, Josh managed to get into the paddle boat, leaving Tino to fend for himself. Meanwhile, Madison and I struggled with our kayak. We had moved away from the others and into the middle of the lagoon. Seeing Tino swimming toward us, we made room for him on board. He reached us and heaved himself on. I threw my weight on the opposite end so we wouldn't capsize. Madison and Tino sat with their legs dangling, resting. I knew they shouldn't do that, but before I could warn them, we tipped over, and we all went spilling into the lagoon. The cold water hit me like a wall. I surfaced, sputtering water. I prayed to God, thanking him that we had life jackets. My first concern was that we had to right the kayak. Unfortunately, this was easier said than done. After our 5th try, the kayak reluctantly flipped over with a loud squelching sound. I felt as if we should get a gold medal for that. All I wanted to do was get out of there, but the lagoon wasn't finished with us. Our paddles had floated away. Luckily, Anna, the hero of the day, brought the paddles to us. Thank you, Anna. During that time, Ophi, Josh, and Madison's mom arrived to help. She joined Josh on the paddle boat, relieved Tino from us, and took him to shore. Madison and I managed to arrive at the shore safely without any more tipovers. Hip hip hooray! I watched Anna battle her way home and thought it would have gone much differently if she hadn't been there. I looked back at my friends, then at the water, and I knew this wouldn't keep us out of the water. No way. The whole experience helped me learn that you have to be calm in scary situations, even if you aren't calm at heart. Things look much worse when you're scared, so sometimes you just need to pause, take a deep breath, and I promise things will look much brighter. My advice to kids like me would be to listen to your parents when they insist upon wearing life jackets. Those jackets really do live up to their name. They can save lives. They help save mine. Okay, so this is an example of a personal narrative. You see how there was a beginning, then there was the incident telling with all these details what happened, and then at the end here, this last paragraph, it gave the reflection. Okay. All right, so I'm going to escape from here, exit this. Okay. And then, what's going on? Now, we're going to move to your formative. So, in your writing assignment slideshow from the other day, you needed to do this memory map, which was slides 24 and 25. Slide 24 was kind of just the example, and slide 25 was the slide you needed to do. Now, I hope you guys finished this, because if you finish this, this can be used to help you do your formative. Okay, so you might want to have this up. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to, but it might be something you might want to use, especially if you did a good job on this. What you have now in your Google class is the Springboard Personal Narrative, Formative, and Summative slideshow. So I'm going to be going over this with you today. So let me, I'll present it. Okay, so the first page of the slideshow basically are the directions. So it says your assignment is to write a personal narrative in the first person point of view. Okay, and you should know what that is. You will include a well-told incident, a detailed response to the incident, and a thoughtful reflection about the significance or importance of the incident. You should have a beginning, like what I just talked about, or introduction to your story. Use an anecdote, a question, a quote, or a statement of intrigue. In that beginning, you will also include the setting, explain the time and place where your incident or your story is taking place. The next thing you're going to have is the actual incident. You will explain in your writing the most important or central pieces of action. That will be the focus of the narrative. Make sure you describe the events in chronological order. That means you're going in order from time. You're not going to go here and there and all over the place and be all wild. There needs to be an order. This happened first, then this happened next, finally. Okay? In the incident, you're going to also want to include characterization, where you will write about the appearance of the people involved, yourself included, what the people involved were saying, what others were saying about the people involved, and the involved people's action. So do you remember the quadrant? We had what they looked like and what they said and what others said about them and their actions. You're going to have that in the incident. Next, you will do the response. You will give details on the immediate physical and emotional reactions associated with the incident. Okay? In the one about the kayak, I guess their incident kind of blended with the response because it was part of it. When they saw their friends were in trouble, they responded and they did all of these things, but it kind of seemed a little bit merged together. But there was definitely a response to that incident of them seeing their friends in trouble. Okay? So again, give details. Okay? Next will be the reflection. You will tell how the incident ended, but more importantly, what did you learn or discover or realize? How did you grow and or change through this experience? If you did not grow, if you did not change, if it wasn't that important, then you shouldn't be writing about it. You write about something that is important, that changed you. Okay, that's the whole point. If it's that unimportant, if it's unimportant enough for you to write about it, then it might not be that important for somebody to read about it. And the person reading is not going to be very excited to read if there isn't that, what we call buy-in. Okay? You need to make it exciting and important because it was, hopefully, to you. And the last part is the ending. You will tie it kind of back to your beginning. Okay? So, if you look under that, it says other writing expectations for your narrative. The first bullet, you will use sensory language. You will include at least 2. If you don't know what sensory language is, you better look at your resource slideshow. You will use similes and or metaphors, at least 2. It can be 1 simile, 1 metaphor, that's 2. It can be 2 similes, that's 2. It can be 2 metaphors, that's 2. Okay, at least. Sorry, I can't see, I moved this. The third bullet is to use dialogue and follow the correct punctuation of dialogue. You have an entire page of rules for the dialogue. Use those rules and that resource to help you correctly punctuate your dialogue. And then the last thing that's pretty much a given is that you would use correct spelling, you would use correct grammar, you would use correct punctuation and capitalization. Again, you're not like in first grade where you're just learning how to write. You should be pretty good at it right by now, by 6th grade. Okay? So we're expecting that you do the best you can. Okay? Next, for the formative, this should look familiar. Okay? In the space below, use the graphic organizer to organize your personal narrative. You may cut and copy the information from your assignment slide 25, into this if that is the incident you want to use for the assignment. So if you want to use your slide 25, you absolutely can. Make sure you have enough information. But if you want to totally come up with something brand new, you can do that as well. Okay? Next, in the space below, you will type out your first draft of your personal narrative. This table, as you are typing, it's going to grow bigger as you type. So make sure you make spaces and you do your dialogue correctly, start new paragraphs where you're supposed to. Okay, so this is the end. Slide 3 is the end of your formative. Okay, so slide 3 is the end of your formative. But I'm going to keep going on because I'm going to talk to you now about the next part that is taking you into your summative. So your formative and your summative are kind of linked together. On Tuesday, you are going to be sharing your first draft with a classmate, and they are going to read your writing, and they are going to look and complete this peer checklist. Okay, so there are these criteria, and they're going to either check yes or no, put an X in there. Okay, so if there is, like if we look closely at here, the first one, does the writing have an introduction to the narrative? If they say no, then the person can type in here, the writing needs an actual introduction. If it has an introduction, they can just put yes, no need to change anything. So they're going to go through this, and they're going to fill this out on your, one person will fill it out on your writing. Someone else will fill out one of these on your writing. Okay? After that, you are going to look at what they said about yours, and you're going to make corrections. This is going to be your second draft. Okay? In the space below, type out your second draft of your personal narrative after seeing your peer editing checklist. Again, the table will increase its size as you type. So I want to remind you, your job when you're doing this is to help your classmates' writing get better. You telling them everything is perfect, it's 100% wonderful, no changes, that's not helping them make their writing better. Even the teachers, when we write things, we always are making corrections. I've already seen on this slideshow things I would want to correct. Okay, so writing is very dynamic, so it's constantly changing. You can always improve it. So in this slide, you're going to type out your second draft. Now, if there are some really great things from your first draft, you can cut and paste it in. That's fine. Okay? Then, after you've done your second draft, you're going to read your second draft, and then you will complete a self-editing checklist. Pretty much the criteria is the same, but now you are looking at your own writing and being critical of it. Because again, if you just say, no, my writing is super awesome, everything's there, and it actually isn't there, that's not going to help your writing grade. You saying that it's there when it's not is not going to make your writing any better. Okay? So this is part of maturing and reflecting and looking at how can I make my writing better. So again, you will fill out this checklist about yours. Please pay special attention to these parts that are highlighted. There are some actual directions in there. Okay? Then after that, you have a slide of the grading rubric. Okay, again, we have it broken down into ideas, the structure, and your use of language. Okay, and you have this slide in your slideshow as well, the resource slide show. Here is the last page. This is your Springboard Unit 1 Embedded Assessment Summative. In the table below, type out your final copy of your personal narrative summative. Remember that your final copy should be better than your 2 drafts. It should not be exactly the same. I repeat, it should not be exactly the same. Okay? So I want you to remember that writing is a process where it starts off, sometimes it starts off great, but it just can get better. Sometimes it starts off terrible, and then it gets good. Okay? And we want you to experience that process of improving, improving, improving. Okay? All right. I'm getting out of here. So I want to remind you that not all of this is due today. Today is Friday. You are going to need to start to do slides. Look at slide 1 here. All your homework is slide 2 and 3 this weekend. All your homework is slide 2 and 3 this weekend. Monday, you come to campus. We are not going to be doing anything with this on Monday, okay? But Tuesday is when you are going to start doing the rest of this slideshow. So slide 4, slide 5, slide 6, and slide 8. Okay? So again, your assignment is not to do the whole entire thing. Today, Friday, November 6th, your assignment for the weekend is to do slide 2 and slide 3, which is your first draft. That's all you have to do. Okay? If you have questions, go see your teacher. You can email them, you can Google Voice them, you can come see them in office hours. Okay? We want to help you, but make sure you reach out because we can't read your mind. Okay? All right. So I'm done, and good luck, and you guys keep working and growing. See ya. Bye.